Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Sekinger. I'm a middle school librarian in Stafford County, today we're going to be working on another maker project. These ones I just love. They're called Cranky Contraptions, and I got this idea from the Tinkering Studio, which is part of a museum in California called the Exploratorium. And it's really simple. You can see mine has a little cow in the front and a UFO in the background, and as I turn my handle I get some movement to it. And that's exactly what we're going to be making. It's something that has some movement to it, some playfulness, and you can design any kind of decorations that you want on top to help tell the story. So let's get started. Take a look here at the table and you can see some of the supplies involved that you might need. So the way the project is introduced through the Tinkering Studio is you need a block of wood and some wire. Those are the basics of it. If you're not comfortable using wood, or you're not sure if you have a piece like this at home, basically any size would work. You know, some kind of rectangular shape. You can also make it out of cardboard and glue. So we'll talk about both processes. That way you can use whatever resources you have. I'm going to be using things like hot glue for this one, so this might be one you want to do a little more carefully or with some adult supervision, but you can always use tape if you don't have access to that, or even a glue stick or Elmer's glue or school glue. So let's talk about the original project idea. It starts with a block of wood like this. You'll need some wire, something that's a little flexible and something that you can cut a few pieces in. If it's stiffer, you might have to work a little hard. This stuff is kind of flexible. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in it. The hole's going to be not quite in the middle, but on one side or the other. So I'm going to take my drill. I picked a bit that's just a little bit wider than the wire itself. And I'm going to drill a hole through it on the widthways. So I've got my hole, and you can test it before you start and make sure your wire will go through it easily. That's great. Once I have that, I'm going to cut a piece that's just maybe about 3 inches longer than your block on either end. On one side, I'm going to make a handle. So I'm going to bend it up and then out. On the other side, I'm going to make a U. So I'm going to bend it up and then back around like this. Okay, and hopefully you can get a sense of that movement right here. As I turn my handle, I've got some movement on the other side. What I'm building here is a cam. In just a second you'll see that. If you don't like it like that, you can also turn the handle like this and have kind of an opposite movement. Either way is completely fine. Our next step is to take one more piece of wire that's about the length of the wood block plus a little bit longer. So I'm going to take that, again having special cutters that will get through that wire and will make your life a little bit easier. So I've got this extra piece of wire. And this we're going to eventually attach onto this end. Alright, we're going to need one more piece of wire to hold this all in place. This one is going to be just a little bit longer than the width of my wooden block. So I've got that, and we're going to make a loop on one end. Now, if your wire is flexible enough, something like a pencil or a pen can be a helpful guide. I just simply wrap it around like this, and that's going to give me that shape of a circle. And that can be really helpful. So I've got my turning right here. I'm going to add something that connects it, is going to hold it in place. I'm going to glue this right on top. So let's do that. We're going to add a little bit of hot glue just to make it go that much quicker. Add a little hot glue to the top. Again, be very careful when you're using hot glue. Keep your fingers away from the tip of the gun, and also from the glue itself as it comes out pretty hot. We'll let that dry for a second. Okay, my glue is getting a little more firm. I've got my loop, so it's kind of parallel with the block itself and right above where this U shape is. And hopefully you can see this come into place. All right, what we're eventually going to do now is we're going to put our cam and we're going to attach it to the bottom of this U. So what we need now is a little bit of cardboard. And we're going to cut out 2 cardboard circles. We can fast forward this part. I've got my 2 cardboard circles. I'm going to poke a hole in the middle of this. You might find that you can use the ends of your scissors. I've got a pair of tweezers here. Again, be really careful when you poke a hole through something. If you have a cutting board at home, or if you're working in a space that you can poke through onto the ground, that can be the easiest way to do it. All right, this next step might be the trickiest one. I'm going to put 1 piece of cardboard down. You might need a second pair of hands to help out with this process. I'm going to get this straight piece of wire and I'm going to get it lined up. And actually a piece of tape might help me get this started. So I'm going to start with that one. Get a little piece of tape there. I'm going to line it up. So that way it's right there on the top. And then I'm going to add that second one, and I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. Okay. And again, be real careful when you're putting this together. We're going to make kind of a sandwich with this by pushing these 2 pieces of cardboard together. If you use too much glue, you'll see some come out the sides, and we don't want you to burn your fingers at this step. Glue. All right. Our final step to think about is some kind of decoration. The decoration is going to go on the top here, and we can tape it in place or glue it in place like this. But either way, as I turn my handle, I'm hoping to see that action go up and down. But I'm ready to go. Look at that. So I've got some movement here, and I'm starting to build my cranky contraption. All right, so again, this is the project as it is. You can make it more complicated, and there's lots more on the Tinkering Studios website about how to design this a little differently. Let's talk about how you might do it if you don't have access to that block of wood. So most of these steps are going to be exactly the same, but if you take a look at the table, we do have one way that you can kind of get around using that block of wood and cutting that hole if you don't have access to the drill to drill that piece. And that's it. We're going to design something like this block of wood out of a few pieces of cardboard. Maybe you have some extra cardboard lying around at home. And if you see, if I stack this all up, right, I'm starting to get something about the same shape as my block of cardboard. So I've got about 6 layers here. And that would be great. Now, the one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a layer that's going to be in the middle, okay, and I'm going to cut just a little piece out of it. So keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to quickly glue these together. When I get to that middle layer, I'm going to leave that gap. That's going to be the place where, instead of having a hole here, I'm going to have a gap that my wire can go through. And hopefully you can see how I can do the same thing with the wire and this design to make my cranky contraption. So you can do the whole thing out of cardboard and tape. if you don't have access to some of these power tools like the hot glue gun and the drill. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this cranky contraption. I hope you try one yourself. It's a great little understanding of how cams work to create different kind of motion. You can think about other ways that you could create motion, or things that not just go up and down but maybe left and right, or forward and back, by using some variations on this design. So get creative with it. Take a look at the Tinkering Studios website for more information, and share your creations with us. Thanks for checking out this video, and hopefully you come back for more. Bye-bye. So these are the cranky contraptions that my son and I created in the last couple of days. You can see mine uses a UFO movement, while his has the flag, but each has those same mechanics that we just talked about in our video.